In today's episode, our guest shared something with me that I wanted to share with you. She said there was a moment in time that I will share about. But I think that when I look back at that, we look at how we all have crossroads. You see it, you hear it, you believe it. And that is your moment to start making big changes. So let's tune into this episode because, as she called it, she was on the floor crying and she knew that something had to change. Welcome to Casa De Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie Deluca Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back, or welcome to Casa De Confidence. I'm Dan.
And I'm Julie.
Hello, mon ami.
Oh, boy. Hello, my love.
Oh.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. You like how I said mon ami?
Yeah, you're speaking French to me. I like it.
Speaking French to you. I've been noticing you've been watching a lot of French-speaking films and shows on Amazon?
Yeah, actually, the movie that I watched yesterday that they were speaking French in was not a French movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Dutch movie.
Oh, cool.
I've watched some really good movies in the last couple of days.
Yeah, there's one that we were watching together,
and we never finished it.
Which is sort of French, but it's Quebec French.
It's French Canadian.
It's funny because they do a good job of it because it's a very different accent than French, and it reminds me of a lot of the French speakers that I grew up with.
Yeah, very nice.
So,
very nice.
Because I am, even though I talk about the Collins and I'm British and all that lineage, the lion's share of me, of my DNA is French, which is, coming through Canada. Coming through French.
Canada. Really?
I was trying to say French Canadian, but it didn't make sense to me. Anyway, French Canadian through the Quebec area. And yeah. So
lovely.
We used to go up there when I was a kid and visit family.
That's very nice.
Yeah, I didn't understand a word they said, but you know what? I know how they sounded, and this movie, they did a pretty good job of it.
Well, very nice. Very nice. So the movie I watched the other night, it was a movie that was in the Tribeca Film Festival.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
In New York?
In New York. And this is the last Tribeca Film Festival in the last year I lived there. And I can't believe I missed it. And then I realized that I have not been to the Tribeca Film Festival since I moved to Connecticut.
We should go. Oh,
we should go. Wow. Am I keeping you up today?
A little bit.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Daniel Collins.
Sorry about that.
Anyhow. So, yeah. So I have to say that I really, really enjoyed it. And it was very artsy. I don't know if he would have been awake, but it basically is about a guy who is a performing actor or person, a performing artist.
Okay.
That, the kind, like, it's in New York City, but this, I don't think was set in New York City. I want to say it was Chicago, but
like a performance art, like street performer.
Yeah, like
type?
a street performer. Like he made his face all like Tin Man, and he painted his whole body. And he looks like the Tin Man, right? Like, that Tin Man that kind of stands on the street like a statue, and you go up to them and go, "Pooh!" They scare the heck out of you. Okay. Not that kind, because he doesn't scare people, but basically it was just about him being very
except you probably didn't use the stuff that almost killed the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz.
Probably. But listen,
It was like aluminum.
It really was well done. And it had the girl from The Office, Jenna somebody or other.
Okay.
Jenna Fisher.
Oh, very good.
So, yeah. So the whole premise was very good. And it was about how lonely we can get in life and how, like, we can go about our world in this, like we don't belong, sort of.
Right.
And like we end up like sort of like, how I say going through the white noise of life?
Yes.
And so it was these two people, Jenna and him, and Jenna basically loses her job, and that's not her name.
That's the actresses.
That's the actresses. Is it Jenna Fisher?
I'm not sure.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to, Jenna Fisher. That's her name.
You're supposed to say actor.
Actor.
Right.
Yes, thank you very much. So the actor, Jenna Fisher, she was in this movie, and it's called The Tin Man. I don't know. Anyhow, but it
came in with
the
some
Mechanical Man.
fact.
That's the
the
giant mechanical man. That's what it's called.
The giant mechanical man.
And it's an offbeat romantic comedy.
Where can they find it?
It's well, if you go, there's a trailer for it in YouTube, but you can go to Amazon.
Would you recommend people seek it out?
Yeah, this was like a 10.
So 10, that's strong.
That's very strong. I'm telling you. It was
10 out of 10?
10 out of 10. It was fantastic. It was very, very good. It was very well done. And it's all about these two people who go about their life.
Where do you rank Pretty Woman?
That's an 8.
And this is a 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it depreciates over the years.
It depreciates? It depreciates over the years.
It depreciates over the years. I saw Pretty Women a long time ago. I mean, don't take me wrong. I will watch it over and over and over again.
How about the one we watch at Christmas time?
Oh, that's a 10 out of 10.
At the airports in the beginning and the end.
Love Actually is a 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Come on.
All right. And your favorite movie? Mm-hmm. What's your favorite movie?
Shining Through. That's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Okay. All right. So listen to me.
What do you rate Deadpool and Wolverine?
That's like a 6. It was funny. I give it the 6 because it was clever. But, okay, so the giant...
You'll be surprised that I give it like an 8.
God. What?
I give it like an 8, maybe a 7.8.
Good for you.
But it's a great experience.
Oh,
it was
good
fun.
for you.
It was fun.
It was fun. There's a lot of controversy on that movie right now.
Okay.
There's I don't know if the controversy... Well, because really I'm staying above the fray in this.
I think the controversy is kind of gone.
Well,
you talking about Marvel's Jesus?
No, Dan. See how out of touch you are. The controversy has to do with Blake Lively.
Blake Lively?
Yeah, who's married to the Deadpool
how much
guy.
She got paid above some other actors and all she did was provide a voice?
No, this is, oh my God. You know what? Blake Lively released a movie based on a book. Mm-hmm. And the controversy, I don't know, but it has to do with Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds and her promoting and da-da-da-da. But I stayed above the fray because honestly, I don't have that much bandwidth.
I'll have to figure it out. I'll have to dig into it on my own.
Yeah, I don't have that much bandwidth. But listen to me.
The big mechanical man.
My God, okay.
Though, what is it about?
Okay, thank you.
I distracted you.
You distracted me.
I got you off the rails.
I appreciate that.
I'm sitting your caboose back on the rail.
Oh my gosh.
Choo-choo.
Choo-choo. Here we go.
Yeah.
It is the story of Janice and Tim. Janice is trying to successfully navigate her way through life and find herself along the way. The fact that she is past the age where she is supposed to be preoccupied with things, she has to depend on others for financial support and makes tasks very difficult. So basically she gets fired. She has to move in with her younger sister, and her younger sister is trying to set her up with a guy who is very successful, wrote a book. And he's all into himself, like, hey, look at me. I can tell you about the power of conversation. Anyhow.
Oh, look at you. You got it right.
Anyway.
It is Jenna Fisher.
Yeah. Anyhow. So basically.
Just so you know, it's 70%. It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
What do you mean it's fresh?
It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and 65% audience score.
Well, okay. So basically then
So people recommend to see it.
Oh my God. Okay, so then she kind of like, as she gets fired, she is standing in the at the train station going home, and she sees the Tin Man. And then he, in his own right, is having his whole situation. His girlfriend is had it with him because all he wants to do is like be a street performer. And he's kind of excited about that. And anyway, I'm going to let people see it because it really brought to a point that there is a level where the world is going to tell you this is what your life should look like, to kind of say you've arrived, to kind of say that you've got it together. And you know what? The reality is that none of us have it together. And the reality is that
Speak for yourself.
Okay, well, fine. But every time we try to live by somebody else's standards, I made this example earlier this week. It's everybody else's opinions and everybody else's ideas of what your life should be like. It's like you putting on a coat. Everybody else has a coat for you. And when you put it on and then you put everybody else's coat, what happens if you were actually going to put one coat over another? You eventually become not able to wear all these coats. But second of all, it's hard to move and it would be uncomfortable. And you can't do it. Like think about when you wear something and then you put something on top of it and you're very constrained. That's how I think life is, that we can become very constrained because we are trying to wear the coats that people are handing us. And maybe this is not a very good analogy, but let me tell you, stop thinking that you need to do what people expect of you. Stand up for yourself because... And by the way, I'm saying this to myself because I know I've been there.
Sounds like you're self-coaching.
Well, not today. I'm not self-coaching, but I've been there. I've been in a place where everybody else's opinions and where I just go by the status quo. Like, think about it. And you know me, we knew each other before we were married to each other. We were married to other people. How long did I stay in a marriage that maybe I should not have stayed? And by the way, you were in your own marriage and whatever. And, you know, we weren't looking to leave our partners for each other. That was not even a thing. But how long did I stay in that marriage, Dan? Because you, as my friend, saw that.
Right. Yeah, much longer than you should have.
Was I happy?
You were not happy. You know what? You were glad to have certain freedoms.
I had certain freedoms, but I also think that I had... I don't know how to explain it. I had the life that I thought looked fine from the outside. And I was afraid of people noticing that it wasn't perfect. And yet it was really imperfect for me because I think that anyhow, we're getting off the rails.
Hey, this is a good message.
What is a good message?
This is a good message. It's very good.
The message is, and I think that with this movie, right, the giant mechanical man, it really is about, we go through life going through the mechanics of life. And yet we all have something that will make us stand out. And we need to lean into that because when we do, and there's a scene in the movie in which she and the mechanical man they work together. I'm not going to give it away, but they go to a party, and she had been at other parties during the movie, and then she walks into this party, and these were her people, and we eventually find our people. We eventually, and by the way, lately I have been feeling a lot like, thank God that you are my person, Thank God you're my person, and I can be me. I can go about my life.
I can be you. I can be violet blue. Or how's that song?
What song is that from?
The song they were singing during COVID.
What?
The song they were singing during COVID.
Oh, that's the one from TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, we have been enjoying the viral cucumber salads because everybody should eat a cucumber daily.
It's very good.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a young man that has revolutionized
Wait a minute.
cucumbers.
Wait a minute.
What?
what's his name?
Logan.
Pointing to it. Logan, the cucumber guy.
Yeah.
So
Logan, the cucumber guy.
It's fun to watch him making cucumber
he makes
stuff.
cucumbers all the time. And if you go to my stories,
you know what's more important than cucumbers?
Oh my God, what is more important than cucumbers?
Our guest today.
Yeah. Our guest, speaking of amazing and not, what is the word? Not,
I'm not currently residing in your head.
Talk about someone who had inadequacies, because she talks about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then she started to have the self-awareness, and then she was able to reflect on this pivotal moment in her life that shaped her belief, where she had this negative belief about herself for so many different years, right? And then she began to, despite the struggles and all of these different things, she found the way to redefine who she was, redefine what she is capable of. And she talked about how people can reconnect with that dream that they have, even though you've been through difficulties and the experiences that you go through. And I really do believe this. The experiences that we all go through are the ones that create and can pave the path to redefining our story, to becoming the person that we are meant to, or get on the path to live in our purpose. And really, even though it's going to require you, right? And let's go back to what I was just saying earlier. It's going to require you to get off the pot and be uncomfortable and say, I'm going to say it, Dan, I'm sorry. I'm going to say, fuck it. I'm going to do it my way.
Whoa.
I'm going to do it my way. Because there is purpose in the pain. We need to understand that it's not easy, but it's worth it. It's incredibly worth it.
It's true. Doing the hard things is often difficult, but
Yeah.
The dividends are there.
Yeah. It's like making the cucumber salad and then slicing your finger into mandolin because you weren't paying attention, but then the cucumber salad is delicious, even though it's a poor example. I just had to bring it back to the cucumber.
Oh, is that why it tastes so good? I got a little taste of you in there.
What? Oh, no, I did not slice my finger. My God. No, I would not serve you a cucumber. I'm just saying this is what's happening to the people. I'm not using a mandolin.
Just a dash of Julie.
I'm not using a mandolin. But you know why?
Because you don't know how to play it?
No, because I don't want to slice my fingers off.
You see what I did there, though?
Mm-hmm. Listen,
mandolin.
I am using the little
instrument.
thing that what is that called?
I don't know. You probably heard about it on TikTok.
I did. Well, I didn't buy it on TikTok, though. I bought it on Amazon.
Okay.
But basically, you shove the cucumber in there and you spin the little thing, and then it spits out the cucumber all sliced. Best thing ever. And by the way, I'm using it for all the vegetables.
All right. Well, Julie.
Yes,
if you had one thing to say about this interview, what would it be?
I believe that your greatest transformation comes from overcoming the self-doubt.
Cool.
Pretty concise, huh?
It is pretty concise. And you know what? Self-doubt's one of those things that people don't always talk about. And a lot of the most bold people have it. And it's not just the quiet ones.
Indeed.
Anyway, speaking of not quiet ones.
Yes, love.
Enjoy this interview with Sheri and Julie Deluca Collins.
Welcome back to another episode of Confident You Radio and the Casa De Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Julie Deluca Collins. And with me today, guys, she's in the middle of writing her book. Okay, I said guys, but really ladies, I want to make sure that you know that Sheri Broussard has lived the majority of her life believing lies about herself. And she was told that she was stupid, incapable of many things, including her ability to earn a college degree. We need to unpack this conversation. Through many years and experiences, she learned to take risks and challenge herself. And by doing so, she found a woman within who is not only smart, but capable of any dream. And a bit of hard work and grit. Despite being told she couldn't, she walked across the stage to accept her bachelor's degree at age of 53. So this is really redefining these messages that we tell ourselves. And Sheri is incredible at doing this because she's setting an example for all of us. Life is always filled with obstacles threatening to hold us back. And Sheri is no exception. And she has risen through the seasons despite their difficulty. So let's get to this conversation with Sheri and unpack how she was able to rewrite her story by changing what she thought. So welcome to the show, Sheri.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you because your story is maybe the story that other people are living as well. And through you being here and talking about it and being open, I know that it's going to inspire many. And it's going to show that, hey, we all can do it because it just takes a little bit of grit. We just need to find it within us. Can I start with a question from the Diary of a CEO, though? I love Stephen Bartlett and I love his podcast. And he has some incredible guests, just like I do. And those guests typically write a question for the next guest. I don't make my guests do that. So I just borrow their questions for us. But this is going to get us started. So I'm going to randomly pick. You're going to see me randomly pick. Let's see. We'll go with this one. All right. Oh, okay. This is an interesting topic. And I think that it's really complementary to a little bit of what we're going to talk about.
Perfect.
Okay. So what is an inadequacy that you admit that you could work on starting tomorrow?
An inadequacy. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I tend to lack appropriate planning skills as far as time and travel and getting to places. I always think, oh, I can easily make it in 10 minutes when I know that I absolutely cannot. And it's something that I struggle with because I feel like when people are late to something that I show up for, it really irritates me. And I think the reason that it irritates me is because I see so clearly what that looks like and knowing that I struggle with it. Yeah. And I've said for years, I need to get better at it and set timers. And I still struggle.
It's a practice. So I used to struggle with that a lot in my 20s and early 30s. My husband, I don't like being late. I will tell you, my dad was very much of a stickler, but my mom, she's not of that camp. My parents are total opposites. So I fall somewhere in the middle. And one of the things that I started to do is, I don't do it anymore because my husband doesn't like it, but I used to set my clocks fast.
Oh
like
my
in
God.
my house,
Yes.
my clock. And here's the thing, right? I made the clocks fast at different times. Nothing over 10 minutes.
So you don't have any
So
idea.
I never knew. So I when I looked at that, I knew like, okay, this could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or maybe 15 minutes. So I needed to get myself together to get there. So.
Yeah.
But it drives my husband crazy. And he was like,
my boyfriend
no.
does that. All his clocks are set, a few hours ahead, and that works for him. For me, it's just frustrating. Like, what time is it really?
Yeah, but that's exactly what my husband says. Like, what time is it really? And it's funny because sometimes he'll ask, well, what time is it now?
Yeah.
And so for instance, it's 5:21 in the East Coast, right? And I'll usually say, oh, it's like 5:30. Right. And he will like then look at he's like, it is not 5:30.
Right.
I'm like, it is to me. Or I could say it's 5:15. He's like, no, it's not 5:15. It's like 5 minutes, 6 minutes after that. Wow. Anyhow, I guess that's just the way our brain works.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely an inadequacy and something that I know is not a great quality of mine and something that I will continue to work on because it's not something I'm proud of.
Well, it's a strong trait in your character to know that there's something that you're working to build and to improve. And I think that many of us, we, and you said something insightful. You know that bothers you in others, but you know that it's also part of your trait. A lot of people fall into the realm of being bothered by the thing they see in others, not realizing that it's them as well. So that's insightful. So I congratulate you on that.
Thank you. I think that's half the battle. And, you know, some of the things that we're going to talk about today is being able to look in the mirror and recognize what is you and your responsibility, because it's really easy to blame and point fingers and 100%. See how the other people don't measure up. But the only person we can control is ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. I think that for many years, I lived in a lot of anguish because I was always, it was somebody else's fault or somebody else did that to me. And I had a hard time looking in the mirror or wanting to look at the mirror. And finally, when I started to do that, my life started to change. Now, obviously, nowhere near perfect. I still have so much improvement to do. But one of the things that we started the conversation with is that we heard you heard your bio that talked about how you told yourself that you were stupid and incapable of many things. What was the shift for you? Was there one thing in particular that happened, or was it a slow evolution?
No, I do think that it was a moment. There was a moment in time that I will share with you in a moment. But I think that when those moments happen, it's a crossroads. You see it, you hear it, you believe it, and it's your moment to start making some changes.
Yeah.
For me, the moment was almost 4 years ago. It was 4 years ago. My second marriage came crashing down very unexpectedly, very not something I wanted or initiated. It was basically a choice made for me.
Wow.
And I had to pretty quickly pack up my belongings from my home and move in with my parents. And I spent 30 days just a mess, just sobbing and crying and distraught and just broken, completely broken.
Yeah.
And there was a moment of laying on the floor in fetal position. I describe it as drowning in a puddle of my own tears and snot. And I add the word snot because that just helps clarify how ugly and broken and sad and desperate that I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was in that moment that I heard this old story that was told to me when I was 17 years old. I was a brand new mother. I had a baby. I was trying to figure out this whole mother thing as a teenager. And there's a whole story with that. But I remember having this conversation and saying very innocently, I would love to go to college one day. And someone who was very close to me at the time said, some people are just not made for college.
What? And by the way, that could be the case, but that's not what you say to someone that is kind of sharing their dream.
And when I'm speaking and I tell that story, I always like to throw in, I don't know exactly what was meant by those words, because I think, like, who says that, right? But I can tell you what I heard, what my heart heard, what my young, innocent self heard. She heard, you're stupid and you will never be enough for college. And I put it on and I wore that like a cloak, and it stole my self-confidence. It stole my joy. It stole anything that made me believe I could do something other than be a mom. I believed that my role, my purpose, my everything was to raise my kids. And while that was a very meaningful choice that I made, it wasn't all there was for me, but I believed that I was too stupid to pursue anything else.
Wow.
That started when I was 17.
It's interesting. And I don't want to pass judgment on what somebody else said, because we all have our moments in which don't have the finest things to say. But so many years, it sounds to me that you lived with that belief because of what somebody else said.
Yeah, it was a
And
lie that I
yeah,
believed that
yeah.
someone else told me. And
Mhm,
it never occurred to me that there were things that I could do
mhm.
to erase that lie, because I
Yeah.
don't think I even considered that it might be a lie. It was true.
Mhm.
The person who said it to me at the time was very important in my life. He was wiser, he was older, he was smart. He graduated from college, so he must know, right?
Mm.
And I just believed it.
Wow. Wow. I we know how the story ends, at least where the story is today. You graduated at age 53.
Mhm.
What was that first step that you took to start to rewrite your story and overcome those voices that were propelled by that person that started
Mm.
that?
So the journey to go to school actually started before my whole marriage breakdown thing happened.
Mhm.
It was a few years before that. I was having lunch with a really good friend of mine, and she was 37 at the time and enrolled in college.
Okay.
And I remember just being in awe. I can't remember what she was talking about, but she was talking about being on campus. And every
Mm.
time she talked about being on campus, it just touched something inside of me that
Mm.
was like, what would that be like? What is it like to be
Yeah.
on a college campus? And so I remember saying to her, man, I wish I could do that.
Mhm.
And this friend
Yeah.
of mine looked me in the eye and she said, dude, you could totally do this.
Mm.
And I still have those words written on a sticky note. It says, dude, you could totally do this. It's probably going to be a chapter in my book.
I loved that. I
because,
love that.
because those words woke up something inside of me.
Mhm.
I had not mentioned going to school since that day that 17-year-old girl was shut down.
Wow.
And I was 48 at the time that this conversation happened.
What an
And so
angel that was put in your path.
she was,
Because, and by the way, I think that being a Gen Xer, dude, you could totally do this. It's
right?
exactly what I would say to
Right?
myself or somebody else. So
Yeah.
that message would
It
totally
was
resonate with me.
it was exactly not even what she said, but it was how
Yeah.
she said it and the words she chose
Yeah.
that just spoke to me. And so that day I went home and I started Googling, like,
Mm.
how do you go back to school at
Mhm.
48? It had been a 38-year or 30-year hiatus.
Okay.
So through a lot of investigating, I started figuring out you got to take the ACT and you got to do this,
Okay.
gotta do that. And my husband at the time was a veteran. So I started
Mhm.
figuring out how do you get VA benefits and
Okay.
just started putting all the pieces together.
Okay. So now did you take the ACT?
I did. And there's actually a funny story behind that.
Yeah. Tell me more.
So now remember, I still think I'm stupid. This
Mm.
does, this has not opened the door yet. I'm still
Mhm.
very much, this is probably not going to happen. I don't know if I can do this. Da, 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 da. So I study for like 3 months to take the ACT. I need a
Mhm.
22 to
Okay.
get in. I got a
Mhm.
20.
Okay.
I got a 20. So I got the we're sorry you
Mm.
didn't make it letter.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was probably the best thing that happened to me because it lit a fire under me that said, oh, hell no. Nuh-uh.
Oh.
No, you're not going to tell me I can't get in. You want me to go to your school. It was like
Mhm. Yeah.
this wasn't good enough for me. And so
Mhm.
I wrote the letter, I did the interview, I jumped through all the hoops and got them to say, wow, you haven't been to school in 30 years. That's amazing. We would love you to
Okay.
come to
That's
our school.
amazing. You
So
know,
they
I,
tried to tell me no, but I
yeah,
didn't. Yeah.
you didn't take no for an answer. S- So many people, Sheri, do that. So many people find or hear the word no, or you can't, or maybe they don't hit that threshold and they're like, okay, I guess I'm stupid. I guess whatever their self-talk is, right? They back up and they don't pursue it. I love the tenacity. I love okay, I didn't hit what I wanted to do in that number, but I'm going to tell them why and I'm going to fight for myself. And that's a beautiful act of self-love for yourself.
I think that was the very beginning for me of starting to realize, one, this was going to be hard. And if I wasn't prepared for hard, then I might as well just step aside, because just getting in the door for me was hard. And the whole 4-year process, that was just the beginning part. I had no idea what was coming, but it just taught me that because something is hard, or because there's a roadblock, or because it looks like a closed door, that's not what it means. What it means is, how bad do you want this?
Yes.
Do you really want it, or do you just kind of want it? Because if you really want it, you're going to have to do some really hard stuff to get it. And that was the beginning for me to just, no matter what hoop came, I was like, all right, we'll jump through this and we'll jump through that. And the more hoops I jumped through, I started to see, like, maybe he was wrong.
Maybe he was wrong.
Not.
I'm interested because, this is, I guess, the way my brain works. But did you ever go back to this person after you graduated and you said, hey, look at me?
No, I didn't. And, I talk about this in my speech also, that I did it for me. That's the reality. I did it for me. But I would absolutely be lying to you if I didn't say there's some satisfaction inside of me to say,
of course,
we're wrong. Wrong. I'm not stupid. I am a smart individual. So no, I never got to say it to his face, but I know that in my heart.
And by the way, it's better to know it in your heart. You don't want to be
I secretly
that person.
Hope, do I secretly hope that he knows I graduated? I do. I'm not going to lie.
It wouldn't be normal. We wouldn't be human. And I think that this is the thing, right? Like, we are human. We are going to have those moments that, maybe it's not the kindest or the nicest, but it's the little thing and like, okay, look at me. I love that.
But what I have gained in my own self-confidence and as a person is in the reality is way bigger than any reaction I would get from someone else, because he doesn't matter anymore. That person is no longer in my life. What he thinks does not matter. The only thing that matters is what I see and what I believe when I look in the mirror. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. That's so good. So good. I think that the place where we get to that, the voices from others really stop mattering to us. And it's only that reflection. It's a great place to be in. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work.
And it does. It wanes. I mean, are there times that I still lack confidence and feel, those, I lose the confidence. Of course, it happens to everybody, but I have a lot to look back on. I know what I've accomplished in the past. And so when the lack of confidence happens now, I remind myself, girl, you've done way harder things.
Wow. Well, I am in awe, because this is a true story of overcoming our own self-talk, overcoming our own limitations, and going after something that made us uncomfortable for so many years. And I know that a lot of us can learn from your story, from your journey. What was it like during the difficult times as you were going through school? Because again, school is not a easy breezy, right? You probably had some hard deadlines and tests. And I know that I sat through classes at times and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can do this. What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, right when I started, I had to go go back to square one because I had never been to college. So I had to take all the prerequisites.
Now, where did you go to school?
I went to UNLV, University of Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, yeah.
Yes. So, I was 48 years old in a classroom with 18-year-old children learning with these babies. Like, these kids were younger than my own children. And, that took a minute to get over that because I felt out of place. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like they knew more than I did. And just all the mental stuff that I had to work through just from the very beginning. And also, because I hadn't been to school in so long, and because I scored not super low, but low enough on my ACT, I had to take basic algebra again. I had to start with algebra, which I don't remember nothing. And it was a crash course that was only 7 weeks long. That was a full semester's worth of information in 7 weeks.
Wow.
To mention the other 6 classes I had to take. So I literally jumped off the edge into the deep end and started drinking from a fire hose. That's how I explained what it felt like.
Wow.
And just learning how to do school, not even so much the content of the classes, but learning how to do school. We're not turning in handwritten in a basket on the teacher's desk anymore.
No, we're not. We're not. Yes, I'm sure there was a learning curve, so many other things. Oh my
goodness. I remember saying to my youngest son, who had just graduated college when I started, saying something about like turning papers in and stuff. And he's like, Mom, there's no basket sitting on the teacher's desk, right? You have to do that all electronically. So everything I learned was new and a challenge. For 4 years. Every single day there was something new and learning how to do it. But I did pass that math test. That class, I passed it with a B. However,
amazing.
However, I had signed up also for a biology class that I did not pass. My first semester, my first science class, I didn't pass it. And again, that could have been I can't do this. I'm not built for this. I got to get out of here. But it was like no, how bad do you want this? And so I took it again the next semester. I took it again. I barely passed it I think she gave me a D- just because she was kind and saw how much I cried.
Well, listen, you passed it. And I think that's all that matters. And it's not so much that you passed it with a D, but that you didn't give up and you didn't give up on yourself. And by the way, it's okay. And at the end of the day, people they see the end product, right? They see she graduated, which is a great accomplishment. No one is like, oh, did you have any D's in your course? No one is asking that.
That biology class taught me so much. And again, it was the beginning of challenging myself to do really hard things on purpose, because about halfway through the class, it was very apparent that I was not going to pass. Like, even if I had turned in every other paper and passed every other test, I was not going to pass. And so the teacher advised me to drop the class. She's like, just drop it and forget about this class and start over. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not dropping it. I would rather fail this class and say that I showed up every day and did what I was supposed to do than to what to me felt like quitting. So I stayed, I sat through every lecture, I took every test, I did my best to turn in papers knowing that I was going to fail. And it just really taught me about persistence and doing what you say you're going to do and showing up even when it's hard. That taught me so much, and that carried me through the rest of school.
Yeah. I think that those lessons, and sometimes when we, and I don't want to say fail, but when we struggle with one area, there are gifts and lessons that we carry with us because of that experience. And many people tend to focus on, oh, it was hard, it was this, but they don't necessarily see that there is a gift even in the difficulty. And that's what is the price that that enhances what we're doing and enhances our life. You mentioned your divorce when we began speaking, and you mentioned the difficulty and how that really just again was another one of those knockdowns and that you went through. What was your journey to healing and moving from that place in your life?
Mhm. So, that moment when I was on the floor, broken, crushed, in the pool of snot that I described, I feel like that was the accumulation of so much more than just the failed marriage. I feel like the failed marriage was like the last flick to get my attention because I was a pregnant and married teenager at 17 years old, no confidence, full of guilt, shame. That's a whole nother story in and of itself. But I carried a lot. And I've actually been married twice. So that marriage ended after 25 years. And I had a lot of baggage, we'll call it, for lots of reasons. And when I left my marriage, I did zero work on myself. Zero. Before I jumped into another marriage that was full of red flags when it started, not only on his part, but on mine. Like when I think back to who I was and all of the baggage that I carried, there were flags for him too that he ignored. So it was like the perfect storm. And we were together for 7 years, and it was 7 years of pretty much dysfunction. And the way that it ended was just kind of like a flashlight for me of all the stuff that I needed to work on that I didn't. And so when I got up off of the floor, there was a moment that I said to myself, there's no way it's going to end like this. No, this is not ending like this. And I got up and I still did a lot of crying, and I was in so much pain and struggle, and the hard part of it didn't ever leave me. But I feel like there was something inside of me that day that woke up and said, we got to look in the mirror. We got to start dealing with you first.
I like this.
So I called a therapist, and I started really looking at my own stuff and stopped blaming, you're not smart enough for college, and you're, all the things that whatever. I stopped blaming all of that and just really started looking at me. And I feel like because I did that, I really started to get to know myself and question the things I just believed because someone told me I should, and just really found me. And I feel like by doing that, that is how I've grown and changed into the person I am today.
Wow. It's so inspiring. And I know that so many individuals, women in midlife, right? We're starting new chapters. We're moving to do those things that maybe we put on hold for so many different years. And your story resonates with me so much because I think that you are proof that we will. We need to just take the first step. And sometimes that first step is the hardest. But once you do that first step, you can take another step because now you know that you took the first step. And that's how we continue to build our confidence. Tell me a little bit about the book that you're writing.
So my book has been really in the works for about the last 3 years. I feel like the day that I woke up, which that's what I call it, the universe, God, whatever you call it, spoke to me that day and said, you have something different to do. You have something different to do. And I didn't know what that meant at all, but I knew that there was purpose in everything I had gone through, everything that was happening in my life, everything that was coming for me had purpose. And I feel like that purpose, quite honestly, is I have something to share. And I feel like my life and my story is going to be a beacon and a light for women who are stuck on the floor and can't figure out what to do next. I really feel that in my soul. And so my book is, it's my story. It gives a lot more detail about how I got where I am and the things that have happened to me. But I really want this book to be a tool of, this is what I did, and you can do it too. Yeah. Because if I can do this, anyone can do it. So that's what I hope my book.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a roadmap. It sounds like it's a very tangible way for individuals to be not only inspired through your story, but start to see what is possible for them.
Yeah. And that's really what I hope. I don't want it to be just this is her sad story. How sad. I don't want sympathy. I'm not a victim. I don't feel like this happened to me. I really believe that everything that has happened for me. I know that sounds so cliche.
No, listen, you're in the right company, because I really believe that when we begin to see that and live in that knowledge, like it's happened for me, and our brain works like a computer, Sheri. If we ask the right question, we're going to get the right answer. So when we begin to ask, how is this happening for me?
Yeah.
Then we begin to see, okay, what can I do? What, because many of us, right? We live in the I can't, and you were living there. You were living in that I can't go to college. I'll never graduate. I'm not the college material. And then you started to ask, like, how can I? And you started to put the steps in place. So it's incredibly inspirational to me that you're doing that.
Thank you.
What are you finding the most challenging part of book writing?
Doing it.
Tell me about it.
Honestly, like just sitting down and writing, just write. Because, we're all busy. We've all got a million things going on and a million things I want to do. And I work and life is happening all around me. And so really carving out the time to put it down. And the other thing I feel is really hard is like condensing it enough that it's the parts of my story that really are going to help someone, because I could just rattle on and on and on about this happened and here's what I learned and that happened and here's what I learned, but really getting it down to the parts that are going to help someone else.
Yeah, I totally remember that process for myself. I didn't, like you said, funny. I guess we have that in common. I didn't want it to be like this happened and that's what I learned, but it really was mostly about the people that were going to be reading it. And that's one of the gifts that we get as writers, right? That we can then not know 100% the change or impact it made in somebody else, but trust the process, that the hard part of the writing will have that outcome will be, it's because someone needs to read or in the case of a podcast, someone needs to hear what we're talking about. I know that there's people who are listening to us and there are in that place where they needed to hear this. They needed to hear you talk about rewriting your story, and the tenacity that you've had is incredible, and it's a wonderful gift. Tell me a little bit more. Where do you see yourself as you continue to move forward in your life? You talk about that it's time to rise up and go into the light, but where do you see yourself as you continue to rise up as well?
I see myself speaking. That's what I want to do with my story. I want to share. I want to speak in gatherings of women who are struggling and feel stuck and just need a light. They need a light to follow, because when you're in that dark place, it's really hard to see clearly. You need someone or something to to keep shining the light for you. And when I write, or when I work on my book, or when I write my speeches, I picture in my mind me on the floor in the puddle.
In the
That's who I
puddle.
write to. That's who I write to. It's who I speak to. It's what I picture in my mind. What did she need? What did she need to hear? Who I try to be who she needed at the time, and say and write and speak in a way that would be encouraging and inspiring to her. So that's what I feel like I'm called to do, to write this book and share my story and help other women who are stuck.
I'm so glad that you have answered that call. I'm so glad that you continue to bring this message to others, because it's a message that is not uncommon, or at least the story is not uncommon, but the message that you're bringing is one that can inspire others. When is your book coming out, Sheri?
I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
I have said for the last 3 years that I need to do it this year, and I need to do it this year. And I think part of that is because when I started writing this book, I was not who I am now. And so I think
100%.
a lot of the writing from then was therapy for me. That was not a book for you. It was mine. And so, writing from the perspective that I'm at now, not that I feel like I've arrived at all, because I feel like we always have work to do. There's more places to grow and all of that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the person that I am now I do write very differently than the way I wrote 3 years ago.
Agree.
So I would love to say and tell you, without committing too deeply, that the book will be done by the end of the year.
Okay, we have to come back and have you visit before the end of the year so we can promote your book.
That would be amazing.
You are a speaker and also someone that's incredibly motivational. How do people connect with you?
So you can find me on Instagram at She Rises High. You can find me on Facebook, which I know is not the greatest place, but just my name, Sheri Broussard. And you can DM me on either of those. And I would love to connect. I would love to come speak and share my story and have people inspire me to keep writing and keep sharing my story, because, we all need to be inspired and encouraged. And the road I'm on is still not easy. I don't ever want to paint this picture that I've arrived and I have this magic formula how to, if you bippity boppity boo, then you can end up and everything's perfect, because that would be a lie. And I don't ever want to share that. But what I do want to share is that there are tools to be learned so that when life gets hard, you don't end up on the floor in a puddle of your own snot and tears. Because it's not necessary to go that far. We should be able to, hit the bumps, run through the hoops, go through the challenges in life without being completely and totally derailed. And I feel like the tools I've learned help me to keep pressing forward even when the challenges come.
Pressing forward when the challenges come. I think that is a great message for today. I am thrilled and so grateful for your time. And I am so happy that you visited with us, that you shared your story, because again, I am just touched, and I know other women will be inspired. Thank you, Sheri. Make sure that you connect with Sheri, everyone. Make sure that you let her know what an amazing, tenacious, wonderful woman she is, for sharing her story and for creating that inspiration for us, that we can do even the hard stuff that we were told or believe that we can. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you share this episode, because you know someone in your life that needs to hear this and needs to hear and learn about Sheri. So thanks again, my friends. And don't forget, every single time that you think you can't, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Thank you, Sheri.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Casa De Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie Deluca Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business, push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.